Good morning, students. I am Dr. Ankita Gupta, Department of English from GGDSD College, Khedigurna. And today we are going to discuss a very important poem from your syllabus titled Aunt Jennifer's Tigers by Adrian Rich. In today's session, the objectives of today's session or class would be as follows. Firstly, we will discuss about the poet. Then we will see the explanation of the poem stanza-wise, the meaning of the difficult words, the literary devices used by the poet, the marking scheme, and also we will be discussing the important questions from this poem. So let's pick up the first topic, that is Adrian Rich as a poet. Adrian Rich is a significant American poet who was born on May 16, 1929, and she left her mortal remains on March 27, 2012. The themes of her writings primarily are women-centric, and she talks about these themes in her works. Like in this particular poem, we will see that she has taken up the theme of marriage and how women suffer in a bad marriage and how marriages can turn ugly for women if they do not have the requisite freedom or an equal relationship. The style of writing of Adrian Rich is free verse. So let's start discussing the poem stanza-wise. This poem is divided into 3 stanzas, stanza 1, 2 and 3, and we will see the meaning of the difficult words along with the symbolic significance, because this poem is replete with literary devices. Literary devices are certain ornaments which a poet uses in his or her poem to beautify the poem and bring out the deeper or the metaphoric meaning of the poem, because every poem has 2 levels of meanings. One is the literal meaning or the dictionary meaning, and the other one is the figurative or metaphoric meaning, or also, as we say, is the symbolic meaning. So we will see the important symbols used by Adrian Rich in this particular poem to make her theme explicit, because she wants to bring out the theme of ordeal or difficulty faced by women in bad marriages. So let's begin our class by reading the first stanza. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, stanza 1. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. So as we see from the very first line of the poem that she has used a very important symbol, a very important image of a tiger. And she says that Aunt Jennifer's, with an apostrophe S, that these tigers belong to Aunt Jennifer's and they are prancing across a screen and they are bright topaz in color, and they are the denizens, the inhabitants of a world of green. World of green is a jungle or a forest. And the significant thing that she wants to bring out here is that they do not fear the men beneath the tree, that they are not afraid of the men of the male gender. So a contrast has been built beautifully in the very introductory stanza of the poem, where she says that Aunt Jennifer's tigers, the images of the tigers which she has made while she is embroidering it on a piece of cloth, these tigers are not afraid of any gender. They are not afraid of the men. So probably the readers have an itch that Aunt Jennifer, on the other hand, unlike the tigers, is afraid of the menfolk. So there is a contrast, a juxtaposition of 2 opposite images used here. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. And she says that they are prancing. Prancing means joyfully jumping. So they are not just striding forward, they are joyfully, they are happily striding forward. And they pace, they are swift, they are agile in their chivalric certainty, that they are sure, they are certain about their existence. Again, unlike Aunt Jennifer, who is not certain, her life is uncertain, unstable. There is something deep within her which is causing this uncertainty, and this uncertainty would be unfolded in the approaching stanzas. But in the very first stanza, we get a vivid, clear picture that there are two contrasting images. One is of Aunt Jennifer, who is docile, submissive, and the contrasting image of the tigers, who are fierce, who are chivalric, who are certain, who are prancing, joyfully striding forward, and they are unafraid. They are not afraid. So the unconscious mind of Aunt Jennifer, who wants to come out of the clutches of the bad marriage, who wants to break free herself, she wants to be confident in herself, which she is not able to do in her marriage. So therefore she is weaving these images of tigers. Through her embroidery, the creative energy is coming out in the form of her art, because this is something which is hidden deep within her. She is not able to express herself in the wedding, but deep within her, she is not happy. And this unhappiness is kind of coming forward in the form of her embroidery. So the difficult words in this stanza are, as I have explained to you, the first one is prance. So this is an image of a tiger, and he is prancing. He is proud about his existence. He is happy, he is lively, and he is striding forward, moving ahead in a spirited manner. So this word is very important because Aunt Jennifer is not able to come out lively. She is not able to live a proud, happy life with her husband. So tiger is a contrasting image as far as Aunt Jennifer is concerned, and she wants a life like this tiger. She wants to live a proud life, a happy life, a lively life where she is able to express herself completely. But as I told you in the introduction, Adrian Rich's poems were women-centric. So unfortunately, women are not able to express themselves in a marriage or in a bad marriage. And this theme is brought forward by Adrian Rich in this poem. The second difficult word from stanza 1 is bright topaz. Bright topaz is a metaphor which compares the tigers. The color of the tiger, she says that it is like a bright topaz. Topaz is a gemstone. So tigers are bright, they are lively, they are bright, and their color has been compared to a gemstone, which is topaz. Denizens. Denizens are the inhabitants or the residents. She says that these tigers, they are the inhabitants, they are the residents, they are the proud residents of forest, of that jungle, which again brings out that a woman, even after her marriage, does not become the resident or a proud inhabitant of that house. That house still remains the house of the husband, and she has to take care of the husband, she has to take care of the children, she has to take care of everything in the house. But seldom do we see her to be titled as the inhabitant, the proud resident of that house. That house still somehow belongs to the husband. Despite her efforts and despite her giving away her own self and own identity in making that house a home, still the actual inhabitant or the resident or the actual owner of that house still remains her husband, unlike the tiger. Chivalric is a word which means gallant or brave. Somebody who is gallant and brave, unlike Aunt Jennifer, who is meek, submissive, docile, and she is not able to take decisions for herself, and she seeks validation from the husband and other family members. But the tigers, they are gallant, they are brave, they are striding forward, they are proud. World of Green is a poetic way of referring to a forest or a jungle. Now let's move on to the next stanza. Stanza 2. Aunt Jennifer's fingers, fluttering through her wool, find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. So, in this stanza we see that Adrian Rich is referring to the uncle who is husband of Aunt Jennifer, and she says the weight of that wedding band, wedding as a relationship, marriage, it has massive weight upon the hands of Aunt Jennifer, that she is tied up with the responsibilities of the marital life. And because of those marital responsibilities, her hands, her fingers are fluttering, trembling. She is not able to withhold that massive weight which a marriage brings upon to her, which the kind of responsibilities that a marriage brings upon to a woman. But this does not mean that Adrian Rich wants to defame the institution of marriage. She is here talking about an unequal marriage or a bad marriage, a marriage in which a woman is not given an equal opportunity to represent herself, a marriage where the woman has to kill her dreams to make everybody around her happy. So she is not talking about marriage in which there is an equal partnership, or a marriage which thrives on love and mutual respect and trust. She is talking about a marriage where somehow the husband takes the power position and the wife has to take the secondary role, or the role of the provider is of the husband, and the wife has to merely live as a shadow under that massive weight of the husband's wedding band. So marriage is not defamed, because a lot of critics talk about it that probably the institution of marriage is targeted, but it's not the institution of marriage which is targeted. It is the power dynamics which happens in a marriage, the unequal responsibilities, the unequal weightage, the woman is actually made insignificant, and the only significance or the power position or the head position is taken up by the husband. So because of that wedding band of the uncle, the massive weight, her fingers are fluttering. While she is doing her embroidery, her fingers are shaking, are trembling. She is not confident. And she even finds to pull that needle, the ivory needle. Ivory is a material which you get from the elephant's tusk. So that needle is made of ivory, it's white in color, and she is finding it difficult to pull that needle across and to embroider. And she is making or designing a tiger in that, through her wool, through her embroidery, she is making the images of the tiger. Because her subconscious mind, of course, as Sigmund Freud says, that whatever desires we have, if we do not fulfill them in our life, they go in the form of unrepressed or the repressed. They form the repressed emotions, and those repressed emotions come out in the form of some kind of a creative art. And in this case, the creative art for Aunt Jennifer is her embroidery, and her repressed desire, her zeal to live her life on her own accord, on her own terms. That thing comes across in the form of the images of the tigers, and very brave image, very gallant image, very powerful image of a tiger because she is living a life which is total contrast to the life or the symbol that she has used, which is of the tiger. So she says that her fingers are fluttering. She finds it difficult to pull the needle because the massive weight of Uncle's wedding band is sitting on Aunt Jennifer's hand. So let's see it through images. So Uncle's wedding band becomes a kind of a bondage for Aunt Jennifer. It is not a wedding, it is an involuntary servitude. So we have an image of a master and a slave. The husband is the master and the wife or Aunt Jennifer is a slave, and she is involuntarily doing this service to the husband, because if she would have been happy doing it, she wouldn't have actually trembled out of fear. She wouldn't have expressed her repressed emotions in the form of doing her embroidery and bringing out that zeal to live life, that repressed emotion in the form of that tiger which she is weaving in through her embroidery. So wedding for Aunt Jennifer here becomes a bondage. Husband is a master, woman is a slave. So there is an hierarchy. There is unequal relationship, dominance position. So a lot of interpretations can be made in the poem. And through her womb, she is, as I have told you, she is weaving patterns, she is doing embroidery, and what she is weaving are the powerful symbols of tigers, because she wants to get that position back for herself in this wedding. She has been thrown back foot. She has become like a melancholic footnote in this marriage, and she wants to come forward and take that power position. Fluttering means trembling. Ivory, white color, and massive weight is huge responsibility. Now let's finally see how she culminates the entire poem, because in stanza 1 she has talked about the powerful images of tigers. In stanza 2 she has talked about the meek, docile servitude or bondage of Aunt Jennifer. So let's see how Adrian Rich, the poet, she clubs the two images together in the last stanza. So stanza 3 she says, when Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So, towards the end of the poem, which is, she, talks about the journey of Aunt in her poem, and she culminates it by her death, which is the end of her life on this planet. She says that when she will die, her hands will probably be terrified, that she will be afraid, she will never be able to come out of this bad marriage in her lifetime. She will have to carry the weight of this unequal marriage throughout her life, and this unequal marriage is what she is going to take to her grave, because even when she will be in her grave, her hands are going to lie there terrified still, that in the entire lifetime she couldn't express herself, she couldn't be herself, and even in her death she will still be ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. So the image that I was talking about, master and slave, has been beautifully put forth in the last stanza, where she says that she will still be reeling under those ordeals, under those big responsibilities by which she was mastered throughout her life. So her life and her death is going to be one of servitude, which is involuntarily. But the tigers in the panel that she made, the tigers, the images of the tigers which she wove through her embroidery, they will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. But her art will remain immortal. Her art will be prancing, will be proud, will be unafraid. In her existence, in her life, she might not be able to live that life of mastery, may live that life where she is given the freedom to be herself, but her art will be proud and unafraid. Those tigers, they don't have to be afraid of the men beneath the tree. The image of men beneath the tree from stanza number 1. So it has a circular structure where we began with a certain image where tigers are unafraid, but Aunt Jennifer is afraid. And she beautifully brings out the contrast and says that Aunt Jennifer will probably die with the same terrified hands ringed with the wedding bondage of the master. But the art that she has created, those powerful tigers, they are going to live proud, lively, unafraid of any bondage, of any servitude. So the important word in stanza number 3, which you have to take count of, is ordeal. Ordeal is an extremely trying, testing situation, an extremely bad experience. And unfortunately for Aunt Jennifer, this ordeal is of her marriage, which she has to live every day and every night. So that's all from me in this video. I hope this was of value to you. This added some knowledge to you, and this will help you understand the poem in a better fashion. Thank you.